Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am about to enter into a zone that I know many will find to be out of order. The reason I know this because over the years I've gotten a sneak peek into the minds of some people that follow after various religious beliefs. And when you really analyze these religious beliefs, you can see how very psychotic they are. Okay. I've tried to explain many times that there is a difference, a huge difference between religion and righteousness. Some people try to mix the two together because they have a biblical view of something that is off or skewed. They believe that people are supposed to follow after their view or their interpretation of the Bible. First of all, the Bible is not up for any type of private interpretation. And that's where the problem lies. But anyway, here's the issue that I want to discuss. This is a continuation of removing yourself from toxic situations. We began that series earlier this year. Or should I say the beginning of this year. We're pretty much still in the beginning of the year, but I want to continue on with that because right now we don't have time to be swimming in toxicity. It's not only a danger to your health, but it's a danger to your spiritual well-being as well. And so this is about marriage, not just relationships in general, because I did open up the series talking about relationships, toxic relationships and people. But I want to cue in specifically on marriage because that is one of those areas where some people feel like you should not venture. Okay. And that's what makes it psychotic to think that a person is supposed to remain in a situation, a very highly toxic situation that could mean life or death, both naturally and spiritually. I'm talking to anyone, whether you're a man or a woman, and you're in a toxic situation where either your husband or your wife is, I want to be very specific in this too. I'm not talking about people who just, you don't want to go by the established order of things, so you think it's a toxic environment. But I'm talking about people who are enduring abuses and just all kinds of wickedness. Okay. Let me talk about the women, for instance. When, or should I say, talk to the women. When you're in an environment and you know that your husband is abusive physically, verbally, and in more ways than one, even on a spiritual level, he is abusive, not adhering to his head, not leading the home properly, not even acknowledging the Most High, but living in a way that is ruthless and lawless. That type of situation can be very detrimental to your spiritual well-being as well as your natural well-being. And I remember even in Christianity, not just in these new beliefs that have sprung up, like the Hebrew Israelite movement that has sprung up, and even the Islam. There are thoughts and beliefs out there that a woman should stay with her husband regardless to what he does to her. That is a toxic way to teach and a toxic way to believe, because I've seen women actually sit in situations where they've had bones broken, they've been knocked unconscious, they've been raped, all kinds of things have happened to them, but they've been told that they must stay in that situation because that man is their head. And he doesn't have to adhere to anyone. He doesn't have to listen to anyone. He's the head. He's the boss. What he says goes. no matter how foul it is. And so women have stayed in situations like that and have lost their lives. Many women are in situations like that where they fear for their lives. But yet, this is taught from a religious standpoint that they are to remain in situations like this. And I say to a woman, if you are being abused by a man in such a way that that environment is toxic for you, you can lose your mind. I've even heard of women having nervous breakdowns because of the abuse that they've received from some man. Now, you all can go ahead and call me feminist all you want. That is just a smokescreen. That is wickedness. It's a lie. Telling someone to flee abuse has nothing to do with feminism. That's just a control mechanism that wicked men use to keep you under their control or to shut your mouth. I'm constantly bombarded with men, so-called black men, especially the religious kind, either telling me directly to shut up or telling my husband he better shut me up. And I'm like, what kind of wickedness is this that I can't warn my sisters about foolishness that is happening and things that they should avoid? Now, my thing is this: if you're a good man, if you're handling your business, if you're taking care of things the way you're supposed to, and you're serving the Most High like you're supposed to, then you shouldn't have one problem with what I'm saying, because I'm not describing you. But those of you who get all in the comment section, you're getting angry and you're getting all up in your feelings because I'm telling the daughters of Zion to be careful, I must be describing you or someone you know, and you can't take it. The truth is too hard to bear. I will continue to sound the alarm to the daughters of Zion, because I have daughters that are of marrying age, and I would be a fool to have them just out here thinking that they can just go and be with anyone without the guidance and direction of the Most High Yah. I would be a fool to have them thinking that the first thing that comes slithering around that they need to say, yes, I do, without first vetting this person, without first finding out if this person is really the true man of God or man of Yah that they say or that he claims to be. And so, again, this is about removing yourself from toxic situations if you've already found yourself in them. Or if you haven't gotten into one, be careful not to enter into a toxic situation. Be wise. Don't be gullible. Don't be naive. Don't be silly. Now, even to young men, I'm going to say this because I have sons. I have a son who is of marrying age, and I have two other sons that will grow to be men of marrying age. Yah willing, of course. But even to my sons, I say, be wise in your choices. Be wise in your decisions. Don't jump into anything. Seek the Most High for a direction. And you see, what's funny is you have some men who have a problem with me saying that. Even though I have an adult son, you have some wicked, lawless men who thinks I have no right to say not one word concerning what my son should be doing because he's a man. And so that should automatically disqualify me from saying anything. You are a wicked man if you think like that. That's why the scripture says, call understanding thy sister and wisdom thy kinswoman. Or either call understanding thy kinswoman and wisdom thy sister. Daughters of Zion, don't listen to the wicked rhetoric of people telling you to be quiet because they can't stand it. The thing is, wickedness can't stand the truth. When a person is wicked, the truth is like noise to their ears. So if you have sons or you have daughters of Zion, you instruct them in righteousness regardless to what these people have to say. Turn the noise of their voices off and instruct your daughters and instruct your sons on the ways of righteousness. There's never been a scripture that said that a mother is not allowed to teach her sons the ways of righteousness. Of course, it is not her sole job, but in many households, the woman is the only authority there, and the Most High being her head. So what is she to do? Just let her sons run wild and just grow up because they're men? She's not able or allowed to say anything to them because you don't like it? That's not the way it goes. And then when these young men grow up and they be hell on wheels out here in the streets, then you want to say, he was raised by a black woman. But yet you don't want her to say nothing to him because he's a man. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. So I say, both the daughters of Zion and to our young men, avoid toxic situations and relationships at all costs. Don't say I do to madness. Don't go out here and get yourself tangled up with something that you know is going to be a detriment to your spirit. Don't do it. Because it's a recipe for a disaster if you enter into such a union knowing that person doesn't see the Most High as their head, if it's a man. Or knowing if you have a woman who don't want to give you the respect of being her head in righteousness. And notice I'm saying in righteousness because the problem is men want to be the head without first following their head. They don't want to pay any type of respect or give any attention to the Most High, who's supposed to be their head. But they want you to respect and honor them regardless to what they do, regardless to what kind of wickedness they have bottled up in their flesh, regardless to what type of nonsense they get involved in. They want you to honor them as the head. And they are as low down as low can go. Now, again, I am not talking about righteous men. I'm not talking about those men who handle their business. As a matter of fact, the men that handle their business, they never get all up in the comment section running their mouths, telling me to shut up when I warn the daughters of Zion. You see, a lot of these men, a lot of these good men, these righteous men, they have daughters. And so they can appreciate someone being a second voice or a third or fourth or fifth voice in the lives of their daughters, saying, be careful, be wise, don't be silly, don't be foolish. Many of the daughters of Zion would have appreciated someone telling them to be careful before they got into some of the situations they're in right now. But for many, it's too late. They're in these situations, don't know how to get out. Because sometimes it can be easier said than done. In some situations, you can get out. But for some women, they have nowhere to go. So this story is not just as simple as just get out. I've known of situations personally, especially I remember when we were growing up, a church that I went to where the first lady was in a horrible situation just like this. We knew of this situation personally. And that first lady lived a life of horror, and so did her children. Without going into too many of the details, because I never know if the children of that union are watching. And I know that the details of what they had to endure were just horrible. I know that people that I've known from my youth have been watching, and so I just want to be careful with with stating things about that particular situation, because it was devastating to a lot of people, because it was more to it than just the abuse of his wife and his children, you see. But we've got to understand something. We've got to understand that people need to be held accountable to their actions. Even if you are the one who made the bad or wrong choice. If you make a choice based on whatever feelings it is you have to be accountable for those choices you've made. So to the daughters of Zion, I know you might be in a rough situation. I know it might be frightening for some of you, and it may be depressing for some of you. Whatever your situation may be, if it's a detriment to your spirit and you're in a toxic situation, you have to understand that before you jump into these situations, you've got to seek the Most High. Because accountability means you are saying, look, I made a bad choice. I jumped into this thing too quick and too soon. And as a result, I'm suffering. My children are suffering. Others are suffering, because many times in some situations, people have to intervene to help you when you get into these rough situations. Many of us have made horrible mistakes in our lives, horrible choices in our lives. And for some of us, we didn't see it coming. But this is why we have to exhort and warn and teach one another how to think, how to pray, how to seek Yah first. This is why it's important that we do this. Just because you have a mother or a grandmother or a great-grandmother who made a mistake and they got into a situation like this and now they're trying to... See, I talk about this sometimes on this channel because you have older people who are trying to instruct younger people, and the younger people don't want to hear because they're saying, well, how can you tell me anything when you yourself have done this? And that's the wrong attitude to have. That is the wrong attitude to have, because that person is saying, look, I don't want you to make the same mistake that I made. But the younger generation is saying, look, I'm turning off your voice because you can't tell me what to do because you did the same thing. That's foolishness to the third degree. Foolishness to the third degree, to think that you can't listen to the counsel of an older person because they experienced something and they're trying to prevent you from going through the same thing. That's just your way of saying, look, I want to make my mistakes, have my fun and all of it, and let me suffer my own consequences. Well, yeah, you will do that. That's for sure. You will. But the issue today is this. Like I said before, sometimes a person can find themselves in a situation and they bring others into that situation as well because they have to intervene. And sometimes other people can get caught up in your mess and end up losing their own lives. So no longer can we think on an individual basis when we make rash choices. When we make bad decisions, no longer can we think as an individual and say, well, it's my mistake to make. Well, what if your mistake cost your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, or other family members their lives because this person you got involved with decides that they want to come and deal with everybody in an unrighteous way? So then your problem has become their problem. So people have a right to say something. They have a right to say something. So what I am saying in all of this is that we as a people have got to start making better choices and remove ourselves from toxic situations. That's right. Remove yourself from toxic situations. If it's going to be a detriment to your mind, your soul, your spirit, or your life, it's time to bounce up out of that situation. It is what it is. Of course, I can definitely continue on in this conversation, or should I say this video, but I'm going to end it right here. I want to know what your thoughts are in the comment section. What do you have to say about this? Are you in a situation that is toxic and you know you got to get out of it? Doesn't just have to be in a marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend situation, but any toxic situation or a lifestyle or a relationship, get out of it. If it's hurting you naturally and spiritually, get out of it. It's time to abandon the toxicity. Leave your comments below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, share and like this video. And with that,